Since the Q3 was first launched in 2011, newer versions of the ever-popular Q5 and Q7 have come along, and the smaller Q2 has been introduced to fulfill the desire for compact crossovers. That doesn't necessarily mean the Q3 is old news, but with competition coming thick and fast from all directions, it needs to stand up to the likes of the BMW X1, Mercedes-Benz GLA, Mini Countryman and cheaper alternatives like the Volkswagen Tiguan and Citadica. The Q3 has been a sales success for Audi, but is it still good enough to see off the ever-increasing number of rivals in one of the fastest-growing segments of the car market? Plenty of engine and transmission choices luckily for potential Q3 buyers. There's a wide range of petrol and diesel engines available, from a 1.4-litre TFSI Petrol with technology that shuts down cylinders to boost efficiency, to a powerful 2.0-litre turbo diesel that you'll also find in cars like the Volkswagen Golf and Seat Leon. 6-speed manual gearboxes and S-tronic automatics are available with 6 or 7 speeds depending on the engine it's mated to, while quattro 4-wheel drive is available on the most powerful 2.0 TFSI Petrol, or any of the diesels. Solid interior showing its age. Many of the interior fixtures and fittings are shared with the Audi A1, another of Audi's oldest models in its current range. While that's no issue in terms of quality, everything feels beautifully screwed together. Audi is perhaps its own worst enemy in this regard because the cabins of its more recent models are so exquisitely designed and built. Still, the materials used look and feel expensive, and you can still add plenty of extras to the inside to make it feel more upmarket, in line with its wide variety of rivals. Hampered by pricey options, the Q3 isn't cheap to buy in the first place, and it's easy to hike up the price by delving into the extensive options list. Adding more desirable equipment to your Q3 can easily send the price soaring towards £40,000, depending on the model you start off with. Bear in mind a bigger, newer Q5 is available at this kind of cost, so it's good to compare what you get for the money when you're buying. The verdict: the Audi Q3 is getting on a bit now, but it still looks fairly fresh and modern, and sells in large numbers. Choose a 150 horsepower engine, be it 1.4 TFSI or 2.0 TDI, and you'll get a car that's a good all-rounder if you have a small family that won't cost too much to run day to day. It's also good to drive and spend time in. It's not as high-riding as the Q5, and feels very car-like as a consequence. Inside, it's tight in the rear, but up front, it's roomy and has the desirable high seating position. A sound choice, with strong residuals, and a premium image. Good choice of petrol and diesel engines. All are strong performers. Manual and S-tronic available. Performance in the Q3 is provided by a selection of familiar turbocharged petrol engines and turbo diesels, available in a combination of manual, S-tronic auto and front or 4-wheel drive options, so there should be something to suit most buyers' tastes. TFSI Petrol engines. Kicking off the petrol range is a 1.4-litre TFSI Petrol featuring cylinder-on-demand technology. This shuts down 2 of the 4 cylinders when the car is just cruising along to boost efficiency. It works seamlessly and you don't notice when it switches between modes. The 1.4-litre engine produces 150 horsepower and 250 Nm of torque, and is capable of completing the 0 to 62 mph benchmark sprint in 9.2 seconds when fitted with a 6-speed manual gearbox. Go for the 6-speed S-tronic automatic, and this dropped to 8.9 seconds. Both versions will go on to reach a 126 mph top speed, while this engine is only available with front-wheel drive. If you want more shove from a petrol-powered Q3, your only other option in the regular lineup is a 2.0-litre TFSI producing 180 horsepower and 320 Nm. It comes exclusively with quattro all-wheel drive and a 7-speed S-tronic gearbox, helping this version of the Q3 sprint from 0 to 62 mph in 7.6 seconds. It'll go on to reach 135 mph. TDI diesel engines. Your options are a bit more varied if you go for a diesel Q3. While there's still only 2 options, there's more choice when it comes to gearboxes and how many of the wheels you want to be driving the car. The entry-level diesel is a 2.0-litre TDI with 150 horsepower and 340 Nm of torque. Fitted with front-wheel drive and a manual gearbox, it's capable of completing the 0 to 62 mph sprint in 9.6 seconds. Opt for quattro all-wheel drive with the manual gearbox and it drops to 9.3 seconds. A 7-speed S-tronic gearbox is also available, only with quattro, which also goes from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 9.3 seconds and onto a top speed of 126 miles per hour. If you want more power, there's a 184 horsepower version of the 2.0-liter TDI engine, available with either a 6-speed manual gearbox or 7-speed S-tronic. Both come with quattro, and take 7.9 seconds to go from 0 to 62 miles per hour, helped by 380 Newton-meters of torque available from low revs to shove you along the road at a decent pace. The S-tronic gearbox can take a bit of time to work out what it wants to do if you surprise it and plant your foot to the floor, but for most drivers around town or on the motorway, it's a smooth and responsive transmission. You can control the gear shifts yourself by using small paddles on the steering wheel, and there's a choice of driving modes available which can sharpen up the throttle response and steering weight. Best to leave it in comfort or auto, though, and let the Q3 do its thing. It's not a sports car and is best left to its own devices. In this mode, it's a refined and relaxed car to drive. Engines no longer available. When the Q3 was launched, a selection of different engines were available that can no longer be found beneath the bonnet, including a hot performance version, the Q3 RS. Petrol power was provided by 170 horsepower and 210 horsepower versions of a 2.0-liter TFSI engine, both of which came with quattro all-wheel drive as standard. They were capable of sprinting from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 8.2 and 6.9 seconds respectively. The diesel lineup was different, too, with a choice of 140 horsepower or 177 horsepower 2.0-liter TDI units. The former came with front-wheel drive and a manual gearbox, while the more powerful latter came with quattro and an S-tronic automatic gearbox. Sitting at the top of the Q3 lineup for a while was a hot Q3 RS, powered by a 2.5-liter TFSI petrol engine previously found in the TT-RS and RS3. When first introduced, it produced 310 horsepower and was driven by a quattro all-wheel drive and an S-tronic gearbox. It received multiple upgrades in its life cycle, upgrading to 340 horsepower and then 367 horsepower for the Q3 RS performance version. The 340 horsepower model was capable of a 5.2-second 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint time, which fell to 4.8 seconds for the performance model, providing serious punch and performance that could rival the hottest of hot hatchbacks. Not the most engaging car to drive. Grip levels are good, but it's not exciting choice of driving modes available. Unfortunately, the Q3 suffers where many Audis have done before, in the handling stakes. There's little to engage the driver and the steering feels too lifeless to really instill any excitement into the experience. The electric power steering does improve as you gather pace, but even at its heaviest, it feels like it could do with more weight and feedback. In dynamic mode it is heavier and gives the driver more confidence, especially at motorway speeds, while this mode also helps sharpen up the throttle and gearbox response. However, the steering is still quite vague and it's just not as good in this department as a BMW X1 or many countrymen. There's a bit of body roll around the tight corners, but it does feel well planted with good levels of grip, particularly in the S-line models that come with sports suspension. With its lower weight, the two-wheel drive diesel models performs better here than the quattro counterparts. It's a little more agile in the corners and offers a slightly more engaging drive, but go without the safety and security that quattro all-wheel drive provides. Typical high-quality build from Audi design looks a little dated now. Easy to get comfortable behind the wheel. As the Q3 was introduced in 2011, it now feels dated not only compared with its closest rivals, but also in the context of the wider Audi range. There's no arguing with the quality of the materials used, though. The cabin is lined with high-quality materials and the switches all have a premium feel when you use them. Much of the interior shares cues with the smaller A1 hatchback, but still comes with plenty of neat touches such as ambient lighting and knurled metal details to some of the switches. However, while the seats offer plenty of adjustment to get comfy behind the wheel, there's not quite enough adjustment in the steering wheel. Smaller drivers may find their reach too far up for the wheel if the seat is in a lower position too. It shouldn't be too much of an issue for most though. The raised driving position gives a good view of the road ahead, but cars with tinted windows and dark interior headlining can make visibility a little trickier when looking at the back. The Q3 also uses Audi's older version of its MMI infotainment system, controlled via a selection of buttons on the dashboard, rather than in between the front seats by the gear lever. A pop-up screen on the dashboard is easy to read and the whole system is user-friendly. However, it feels dated compared with newer systems from BMW, and even Audi itself. Adjustable, comfortable seats, plenty of space up front. Ride can be jittery on big wheels. The Q3 is a comfortable car to spend time in, more so than you might expect. There is very little engine noise in the cabin, while wind and road noise are very well suppressed, as long as you spec it with smaller wheels and tires. On the standard 17-inch alloys, the ride feels nice and smooth, although switching the car to dynamic mode via Audi Drive Select means things get a little stiffer and could cause some problems on the more undulating UK surfaces. Switching to an S-Line with 18-inch alloys makes little difference to the ride, and depending on which drive mode the car is in, the ride still feels compliant overall. The biggest impact on the ride comes from adding optional alloy wheels. On higher-spec cars you are able to specify wheels up to 20 inches in size. As a result, this has a more significant impact on ride quality, making the Q3 feel much more fidgety and unsettled even on smoother road surfaces. It's not unbearable, but noticeable compared with examples with higher profile tires. In the front of the car, the seats offer high comfort levels for longer journeys, and there's plenty of directional movement in the seat so that the driver can get settled. The steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach. However, some smaller drivers may find it doesn't have quite enough adjustment to bring it low enough to be comfortable. For most though, it's a good setup. Things are a bit tight in the rear of the car, and any taller passengers that find themselves in the back won't want to be going on too long a journey. The middle seat in the back is also best reserved for smaller children, as fitting 3 adults across the rear row will be a little too tight, but at least the seats are angled lower, helping to feel like you're sitting in the seats and not on them. Decent amount of standard kit, plenty more to be added optionally. 3 distinct trim levels. The Q3 lineup is made up of 3 familiar trim levels: Sport, S-Line Edition and Black Edition. Standard Audi Q3 SUV equipment. The Q3 range kicks off with the Sport, coming with 17-inch alloy wheels, xenon headlights with LED daytime running lights, sat-nav displayed on 6.5-inch pop-up color screen, Bluetooth phone connectivity, Audi Music interface, AMI connection for Apple devices and USB devices, DAB radio, voice control, dual zone climate control, rear parking sensors, cruise control, automatic lights and wipers. Upgrading to the Q3 S-Line Edition brings largely cosmetic upgrades, featuring 18-inch alloy wheels, S-Line specific bumpers, diffusers and chrome trim on the outside, cloth, leather S-Line sports seats, plus brushed aluminium trim and side LED headlights, plus LED rear lights, electronic boot lid, black headlining, front and rear parking sensors. The Black Edition builds on this further, with 19-inch black alloy wheels, lowered, stiffened suspension, privacy glass, black styling pack, gloss black trim for radiator grille, window trims, wheel arch trims and lower parts of the bumpers and doors, as well as door mirrors, spoiler and roof rails, Alcantara and leather upholstery with piano black dashboard trim, LED interior lighting, by surround sound stereo. Optional Audi Q3 SUV extras. It wouldn't be an Audi if you couldn't add a wide range of optional extras, and the Q3 is no different. If you want to change your Q3 cosmetically, wheels up to 20 inches in size can be added, as can various different paint schemes, including almost any color from the Audi exclusive range, costing up to £2,400. Some options can be added in packs. Technology pack includes upgraded sat-nav with 3D maps, higher resolution screen and hard disk drive for music storage. Also includes connection to Audi Connect, which allows for internet searches and pictures via Google Earth. Comfort and sound pack includes front and rear parking sensors with rear view camera, hill hold assist, both stereo upgrade, LED interior lighting and heated front seats. Storage pack, netting on the seats, storage compartments under front seats, hook in passenger footwell and lockable glove box. Several of the options found in packs can be added individually, with extras like a panoramic sunroof, full leather upholstery and extra driver assistance and safety kit. Decent safety kit. Tally driver assistance can be added. Safe car for families. Given that the official safety organization, Euro NCAP, has awarded a car a full 5 stars, the Q3 is a safe car to drive. It comes with the usual array of safety kit, including stability control, 2 front airbags, thorax pelvis side airbags in the backs of the front seats and curtain head airbags and hill hold. There are a number of optional safety extras available on the Q3 that give it that added feeling of security. There's Audi Side Assist, which is essentially blind spot detection that flashes a light when a car is coming up the side of you. Then there is also active lane assist that helps the driver steer back into the lane if the car goes over the line without indicating, and speed limit display that reads speed limit signs and shows them on the central trip computer. Compact exterior means interior isn't huge space for 4 adults and usable boot. Taller passengers may struggle for space. Passenger space in the front is nothing to argue with plenty of headroom and legroom and space to stretch out in. It's a mixed bag when you jump in the back seats, though. If there's nobody too tall in the front, legroom is acceptable. However, if there's a taller person in the front and you're a taller person yourself sitting in the back, things get more cramped due to a sloping roofline. It's best in the back for kids, then, as the shape of the door is quite narrow, while the middle seat is best reserved for smaller passengers, too. The Q3 is a compact car, and is barely longer than a regular A3 hatchback. That means it's easy to drive and maneuver around town with good forward visibility. It's not particularly wide, either, meaning fitting into tight spaces is easy, too. However, the main gripe with the Q3 is the slightly protruding rear end. It slopes quite dramatically, which you notice if you look at the car side on. It means that if you use the rear window as a gauge for where the back of the car is, you need to be aware that the lower part of the back of the car sticks out more than the top. It's not a big issue though, as the Q3 comes with rear parking sensors as standard, or you can add a camera as an optional extra if you want some more peace of mind. Boot space is good with 460 litres on offer, although this does change depending on whether you have a space-saving spare wheel in the back or not. If you do, it folds to 420 litres. The rear seats split 60-40 and this extends the space in the back to a possible 1,325 litres. There's little intrusion from the rear wheels as the side walls of the boot are almost completely flat. Annoyingly, the rear seats don't fold fully flat, they sit a little raised, but this shouldn't cause too many problems and there's still a good amount of room on offer. The loading lip is relatively high, so getting heavy items in could cause issues for some, plus there's the protruding bumper to contend with. Buyers can also opt for a fold-flat front passenger seat, making it easier to carry even longer items like laminate flooring packs. The cabin does feel a little tight for space, but the usual storage spaces like door side pockets and glove box are of a decent size.